Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Thanks for joining us here if you're joining us live. And if you're listening to us later, well, we're glad to have you here as well. Click that like button if you're a regular guest. If you're new to the Wake Up America show and you end up enjoying the content, I hope you'll join us regularly. So you'll click that follow button before you leave so that you can come back and join us for the regular schedule every Monday through Friday. From 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, the Wake Up America show streams live. All right, let's get the show on the road. Mickey D's. I know what you all are going to say. So disgusting. Who eats that crap? Well, guess what? Have you noticed how much weight I've gained in the last year? Yeah, AP enjoys himself some McDonald's. It's delicious. Shut up. I don't eat it all the time, but I kind of have an addiction to the steak, egg, and cheese bagel, which if you've never had it,
How dare you?
Oh, God, it's absolutely delicious. You know, steak, egg, and cheese bagels don't just fall out of trees.
I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Shut up. McDonald's says that its sales last quarter sputtered as the burger giant grappled with consumers reining in their spending, sounding a warning for the restaurant sector. Yeah, it's not just about my delicious steak, egg, and cheese bagels with the delicious onions and the dill sauce that they put on top of it and so delicious. It's not just about the food. It's about the problems with our economy. We'll talk about that at the top of the show. At 7:30 this morning, is Donald Trump's assassination attempt being censored on Google and Facebook? Many people think so, but one former software engineer for Facebook will be joining us live at 7:30 this morning to talk to us a little bit more about that and how they build their algorithms. algorithms around algorithms. We're going to talk to Ian Howarth this morning at 7:30 a.m. Central Time. Mighty Megatron says, Steph, you got to stop AP from eating that crap. Cook him some breakfast. She does. She will cook me breakfast anytime that I want. It's just that it's really difficult. And I even tried making the steak, egg, and cheese bagel at home one time. And it's the dill sauce. And then whatever steak, like the hamburger steak or something that they make for it, is just, even though it's a little bit gristly, I know you're like, ugh, but damn it. It's good. All right, delicious. So yeah, at 7:30 this morning, we'll speak to Ian Howarth about the alleged censorship surrounding the Donald Trump assassination attempt on major search engines and Facebook. He is a former software engineer for Facebook, so I think that should be an interesting conversation, right? At 8 a.m. Central Time, the war of the sexes. Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. Is it a proxy war for the battle between young people who overwhelmingly on the right, overwhelmingly young men are skewing more conservative, and overwhelmingly younger women are skewing more liberal? We'll talk about that. And also this story about did you see this? White Men for Kamala Harris meeting. Yeah, they're trying to get like 100,000 white men to sign up and say that they're supporting Kamala Harris. It's like,
Okay, I can first.
yeah, it's really gross. We'll talk about that this morning with Camelia Peterson at 8 a.m. Central Time. And that's going to be a fantastic conversation because, whenever Camelia and I talk about the guy-girl stuff, it always ends up being kind of funny. I'm sure Courtney Conover will be highly, highly triggered. At 8:30 a.m. Central Time today, we're going to speak to Angela McArdle. She's the chair of the Libertarian National Committee. I want to talk to her about all these libertarian crypto billionaires getting involved in the presidential campaigns, what she thinks about that, as well as another story that's on my radar and tracking about Thomas Massie floating his own name for Donald Trump's agriculture secretary. That would be wonderful. But what I would like to talk to Angela about is the question of when Donald Trump went to the Libertarian Party's national convention a month or so ago, he made promises that if the Libertarians supported him, that he would put a Libertarian in his cabinet. And I guess my question is, because of course Donald Trump's very sly, he is a politician, I wonder if Angela McArdle thinks that Donald Trump was talking about a capital L Libertarian, meaning someone who is actually a member of the party. Because if you remember, many people who are self-identifying as libertarians are not members of the capital L Libertarian Party. So I wonder if Thomas Massie were to be named as the Secretary of Agriculture, as this cabinet level position, would that satisfy the requirements for people like Angela McArdle? Would that be good enough to meet the standards by which Angela McArdle is out there sort of, well, I won't say supporting Donald Trump, but I will say kind of running interference, using her sort of left-wing libertarian presidential candidate, Chase Oliver, to sort of block the Democrats from winning the White House. If Thomas Massie is the pick for Donald Trump, would that be satisfactory to people like Angela McArdle and others? Or do they have to be a member of the party writ large? I would be curious to hear your thoughts on that. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. But before we start these stories today, let's play a clip of a guy who went into a Kamala Harris event with a Trump shirt on, and then to a Trump event with a Kamala shirt on. The difference in the way he was treated, well, can you guess? How do you think that the guy was treated? Take a look and a listen.
Watch as this guy goes to a Biden protest in a Trump shirt and a Trump event in a Biden shirt. You can clearly see the difference between Trump and Biden supporters.
Right into the Biden protest with the Trump shirt. Get your ass across the street. What the f*** is everyone so hostile?
Go over there with your people.
You guys are my people. Look.
No, you're not. You're Trump supporter.
No, Biden sends children, not Trump. No, stop. Don't snitch. Stop, I'm blending in. No. Why is everyone so angry? I'm just
fucking dumb or stupid?
I'm just walking the sidewalk. You see how much hate it is over here? It's a public sidewalk. I feel like I'm gonna get jumped out. Oh, man. So when you poured water on me, did it make you feel happy?
Yeah.
I have to change shirts. Can I hide behind you? Okay.
Give me out.
Okay. I was feeling crazy today. Hey, come on. It's just so much more respect over here. I'm here for my favorite president, Biden 2024. I want to sniff children.
Watch as this guy
Yeah. Mighty Megatron says, I love his mullet. I mean, now listen, could this have been selective editing and he only showed one side behaving one way and he didn't show the other side behaving that way? Sure, you have to be careful with videos like this. However, it does confirm my biases, so therefore I choose to believe it. Oh, look at the baby. I know I showed this picture yesterday, but you guys are just going to have to deal with it. There's going to be a lot of baby pictures. And this Friday on the Wake Up America show, baby Hazel will make her debut, her live streaming debut on the Wake Up America show. So make sure you don't miss it. Steffi, Justin, Hazel, and me all together. The Freedom Family Friday show will be the best it's ever been with 4 Petersons, including baby Hazel, on set on Friday. Yeah, baby Hazel. I picked her right out of the sunflower patch. It was so lovely. Isn't she cute? Yes, she is. Caramba. Okay, yeah, so I have a million billion clips as usual. I will be playing. But I want to make sure that I get to the big stories before we get to Ian Howarth at 7:30 a.m. Central Time. Also, real quick, thank you to Quest Fanning for the $2 donation towards the $60 total to unlock today's bonus content. This week's bonus content is in honor of Kamala Harris ascending to the candidacy for the Democratic Party. We're talking about vice presidential candidates who became the president of the United States. So quite a few of them, in my research, quite a few vice presidents ended up being president. And I know you're all like terrified to hear me say this because you don't want to listen to this for the next 8 years, remember, 2 possible terms. But if you'd like to learn about other vice presidents in history who ascended to the presidency and to learn a little bit more about their stories, then help us to unlock today's bonus content today by making Rumble Rant donations, YouTube super chats, or go to forlibertyshop.com and make a purchase. And if we raise $60 by the end of the show, you'll unlock today's mini documentary. Instead of watching commercials when we go to our guests, you get to watch our mini documentaries. There we go. What are we going? Where are we going? I've got a million billion clips. I got to talk about the McDonald's store here in just a second. But before I do,
no president, no former president, not me, not one has and should have been given any exception to this. And no president.
Wait a minute. What? It's talking. President Biden is launching an assault on the Supreme Court, claiming that they want to reform it, when in reality they want to radically transform the underpinnings of American democracy. But this is him explaining his decision.
No former president, not me, not one has and should have been given any exception.
Okay, well, it's not like you're going to be there for very long. Also, real quick, I know people were curious about whether I had that meeting yesterday with YouTube. I was supposed to sit down and talk to them about my my channel on YouTube and about my live stream. And I'm guessing that they probably watched my live stream from yesterday morning, which was very not YouTube friendly, and they canceled my meeting with YouTube. So, yeah. So, but I still got the gift card for trying to participate in the research study. Yeah, I'm guessing they watched the video of Dr. Sug on these nuts and we're like, yeah, we're not going to work with this guy. So, you know, let's be on Rumble today, Rumble yesterday, Rumble forever. What say ye? Or on X.com. We do have a lot of friends who like to hang out and watch the Wake Up America show over on X, which if you are, do us a favor, click that little heart button and give us a repost. Let us know what's on your mind. You can send us a text at 573 573-319-1586. Again, the text lines are open at 573-319-1586. McDonald's said that its last quarter sales had been sputtering as consumers have started to rein in their spending, sounding a bit of a warning for the restaurant sector. This, according to the Wall Street Journal. Lower income consumers began reducing their visits last year. Now, before you get excited about this because you hate fast food or you don't like McDonald's or you just don't like the industry in general, this is a very bad sign for the American economy. The slowdown has deepened and broadened across the United States and across other major markets as well. This is a bit of a canary in the coal mine, if you will. The fast food giant said that U.S. same-store sales in the June quarter were down 1%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have 100 billion million Googleplex sold, that's a lot. Analysts had expected that the metric reflecting sales at stores open at least 13 months to be flat. The company is also reporting declines globally with the conflict in the Middle East and weaker performance in France. The weak trends are continuing in this current quarter. The consumers across a number of markets are being very discriminating. And I would point out, says the CEO of McDonald's, consumer sentiment in most of our major markets remains low. Chicago-based McDonald's kicked off a string of quarterly reports this week. A lot of restaurant stocks have slid in recent months as consumers' discretionary spending, this is the key part, comes under pressure. And Wall Street analysts expect some chains to fall short of earnings expectations. Many of you remember that Red Lobster went bankrupt only recently. But two chains actually reported a growth in profits. Does anybody here enjoy a little Domino's pizza or a little Chipotle? What's up? Good morning, Ahow319. Nice to see you. Is this your first time here? If so, we'd love to have you be a regular guest. We hope that you'll click follow on the stream and join us regularly. Quest Fanning got the reference. Segregation today. Chicago-based McDonald's. So Domino's Pizza, though, is saying that they're going to open fewer stores as a response to the consumer spending pullback. But let's talk about, when we're talking about this canary in the coal mine, let's talk about this. Some of you are saying, I haven't eaten fast food for 20 years. Okay, well, that's fine. But if you do enjoy a good steak, egg, and cheese bagel after a well-done Freedom Family Friday show, and you like to take your wife to McDonald's, and you both enjoy a little Mickey D's, don't worry, I drink water with it, and I have like a medium. I only eat one hash brown instead of two like I used to, and I'm still on my diet, and I'm down 12 or 13 pounds, guys, so shut up. Lay off me, I'm starving. Okay, but when we're talking about the McDonald's question, we're talking about how much the prices really have soared. The fascinating thing about this is that last night I was explaining this to my mother-in-law. Apparently she likes to get a little McDonald's for some of the kids she babysits. And a lot of you, if you do shop at McDonald's, if you go and eat at McDonald's and you're not using the McDonald's app, most of you are subsidizing people like myself to get cheaper food. I don't know if McDonald's has raise their prices in order to offset the losses that they have from the discounts that they get on the McDonald's app. But if you're like me and you take your loving wife on a Friday after your show to McDonald's for a little breakfast, right? Get a little bit of hotcakes, maybe a little steak, egg, and cheese bagel, whatever you like. Then if you use the McDonald's app, you save a lot of money. And people who don't use it, you're paying 20-25% more. But they did recently, and Steffi was really excited about this, they did start in McDonald's this new bundle where it's a $5 bundle of 4 items. You get a McDouble or a McChicken, small fries, small soft drink, and a 4-piece chicken McNuggets for $5. And those have sold really well because they cater to the low-income consumers who can't afford to pay $20, $25 for a Big Mac and French fries. I think it was, what was it, in Connecticut? They did this big meme lately that came out that showed that in one McDonald's in Connecticut, like the Big Mac meal was something like $18 or $19 just for the sandwich, the fries, and the drink. $18. Now, Connecticut is obviously rich land anyway, but still, the price of fast food has been exploding. And I know all of you over in the chat right now are judging me this morning, but I want y'all to come clean and tell me, what is your fast food obsession? Because I know some of you are like, oh, McDonald's, Austin, you're such a plebe. Oh, disgusting. How gross. That's why you're fat. This is why, your thighs slap together when you walk and you have to powder your nuts in the morning, make sure they don't stick to the side of your giant fat thighs. Okay, you tell me right now. What is your fast food obsession? I know some of you are, what, are you going to Culver's, huh? Come on, be honest. Be honest, be real, let me know. See, Andy Opperman's laying it out real. He says, as far as chains go, I like Casey's Pizza. Sadly, they do not deliver in JC. That is true, and that is a crime. I do love Casey's Pizza, but the breakfast pizza, is my obsession. I get a slice, whenever I drive through Tipton on my way from Jefferson City to Peculiar, Missouri, on 50 Highway, I stop at the Casey's that's on the left in Tipton to get me some breakfast pizza. I put a little bit of the Tabasco or the Texas Pete sauce on top of the Casey's breakfast pizza, and it's freaking delicious.
I can first.
John and Casey. Austin. John and Casey, my mouth is watering from talking about all this. John and Casey, what does he like? He likes Chipotle. Oh my God, I love Chipotle. See, you guys, I see that you're going to the fast food. I don't think that Applebee's counts, Quest Fanning. Hammerlager loves himself some Arby's. Yes. Every once in a while, I do like me a roast beef sandwich from Arby's. Mongoose 87 says Sonic. Yes, Sonic is good, but you know what the best sandwich is at Sonic? It's not on the menu. It's on the secret menu. You ask for the hickory cheeseburger at Sonic, and you tell them Austin Peterson sent you, and they will hook you up. All right. So any Sonic around the entire country, they know me all over there. Does it sound like Austin enjoys his fast food? Yes. Chick-fil-A is C. Jade's choice of fast food. That's a good one. That's God's chicken. Courtney Conover says no stomach issues with what I buy from Taco Bell. Yes, I do sometimes like some Taco Bell, but sometimes it's really hit or miss on the quality there. Captain Tight Pants explains why his pants are tight, because he loves Arby's, but not the cheap roast beef. The brisket sandwiches, that and the Quick Trip roller grill. Oh my God, you eat that stuff? Jesus, I'm judging you. No, I'm not. Fast food is getting expensive, and more poor people are having trouble being able to afford it. So this might be a sign of an economic downturn. What will that mean for politics? We'll have to talk to Angela McArdle about people like that, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well. You can, again, send us a text at 573-319-1586. Again, the text lines are open at 573-319-1586. We got a brand new product over at the For Liberty Shop. My buddy Doug Ashby has a laser printing company, and he made some really cool Donald Trump assassination attempt wooden coaster sets, which are quite handsome. You can get a set of 4, including the box that contains them, and they are handmade here in Missouri by my buddy Doug Ashby, and that is the price delivered with the box. You can get a really cool Donald Trump, you missed Donald Trump assassination attempt wooden coaster set. So check that out, as well as our entire Courage Under Fire, celebrate the power of Trump's defiance against his attempted assassination. The collection available at forlibertyshop.com. That's the number forlibertyshop.com. Grab yourself a Donald Trump assassination attempt wooden coaster set, and that will be shipped right out to you by my buddy Doug Ashby, made by him. Nobody else has these. These are only at the For Liberty Shop exclusive wooden coaster sets. There we go. Quest Fanning says Doug Ashby is cool. Met him in the raft trip. Yes, very cool. Facebook AI says there was no real assassination attempt on Trump. Take a listen.
Can you ask Facebook's AI if the Trump assassination was real? This is how it responds. Are you ready? There was no real assassination attempt on Donald Trump. I strive to provide accurate and reliable information, but sometimes mistakes can occur. To confirm, there has been no credible report or evidence of a successful or attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Facebook says they'll fix it, but all these errors are made in the same direction. They're not even satisfied with rewriting history. They're just trying to erase it. When you ask Facebook's AI,
My next guest joining us here live in 5 minutes, Ian Howarth is a former software engineer for Facebook. He's going to talk about that and Google potentially censoring their search results for the Donald Trump assassination attempt. We'll talk about that with him when we get back on the Wake Up America show. Don't go. It's the For Liberty Network.
The Cantina crew, this is Elon Musk, the CEO of Twitter. And I just want to say thank you for watching the Wake Up America show. I've decided that Austin Petersen will be the new CEO of Twitter.com, effective immediately. First thing to do, though, is I've got to go and blast off into space.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? You can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist, Visit AP for Liberty Shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. We're glad and thankful to have you here. Click that like button, and if it's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, click the follow button as well. We'd love to have you become a regular guest. What's the schedule, Austin? It's my first time here. I don't know how often you guys are live. Is it just every once in a while? No, it's a regular schedule, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. We'd love to have you be a regular guest. So click that follow button before you leave, and hopefully we'll have you join us as a regular guest. Now, I've got a little bit of tap dancing to do, and maybe even apologies that I have to make to my friend Ian Howarth, because I invited him to be on the show this morning at 7:30 a.m. And when I sent him a 7:30 a.m. request, I see now I did not say 7:30 a.m. Central Time. So for all I know, he's not even awake right now, and he could not be awake, and that would mean that he's thinking that maybe it's like an hour later. So because it could be 7:30 a.m. I don't know. Maybe he's on the West Coast. Maybe he's in what Mountain Time. Where is it where it's 8:30 later, but then it's 7:30 here? It's just too early for me. I'm not drinking enough coffee this morning. That's my problem. I should have some more founding flavors. So I do apologize to Ian Howarth, and I sent him a DM, and if I screwed up the time, I'm very sorry for that. Do you know what happens when Austin screws up the time for one of his guests? Well, after he has to take 50 lashes with a wet noodle, he has to self-flagellate. But he's got to tap dance. It means that I've got to come up with 30 minutes of content that I had not planned for, and now I am, well, guess what? Screwed. Who cares? Read the news. Facebook apologizes for mistakenly censoring iconic photo of bleeding Donald Trump. Sure. Yes. Facebook has acknowledged that it mistakenly identified a widely shared image of Donald Trump as, quote, altered. Facebook's algorithms detected the image, which depicts Trump raising his fist in the air following an assassination attempt, and labeled it as possibly deceptive. Really?
How dare you?
Now, the platform users of X claimed that the photo had been marked as altered on their accounts. Facebook responded by saying that unbiased fact checkers had examined an identical image and discovered it to be false. Tragedy tomorrow and comedy tonight. Danny Lever, she's the director of public affairs at Meta, explained on X, which is kind of comedic, right? Something with clowns, bring on the lovers, liars, and clowns. Something familiar, something peculiar, something for everyone, a comedy tonight. The Facebook's internal technical system was intended to detect a different version of the image, not the iconic photo of Trump, sure. Facebook expressed regret for the mistake and any misunderstanding it may have created. This was an error. The fact check initially was applied to a doctored photo showing the Secret Service agent smiling, sure. And in some cases, our systems incorrectly applied that the fact check would go to the real photo. This has been fixed, and we apologize for the mistake. This is funny because, what was it, just 2 weeks ago, when 2 or 3 days after the assassination attempt, I remember distinctly reporting on this program that there were members of the press who were actively working to censor this photograph from appearing in major periodicals. They were saying that people were sharing it too much, it had too much propaganda value, and now we notice that the assassination attempt has just been memory hold, right? 2 weeks later, and nobody is talking about this major event in American history or American politics. Well, frankly, it just strikes me as a bit odd. I'm not big on conspiracy theories, but it doesn't mean that I don't dabble every once in a while. And when it comes to the assassination attempt, I'm perfectly happy putting on a tinfoil hat and entertaining even the wildest conspiracy theories for this until we truly get to the bottom of what's going on. We should entertain any and all theories about what happened on that day in Pennsylvania 2 weeks ago until we have real solid evidence and a full and thorough investigation of what went on. Donald Trump sat down for an interview with the FBI yesterday, and the FBI did confirm 3 days ago that the conspiracy theories that the left were waging, that Donald Trump didn't actually get hit by a bullet, they said that it was a shard of glass from a teleprompter that hit him in the ear, that was all lies. And as we all know, lies go around the world twice before the truth has time to get on its shoes, as my fellow Missourian Mark Twain has said. But in this scenario, in this case, Donald Trump was confirmed to have been shot by the FBI. And now the latest conspiracy theory is that no one has ever healed this fast. I'm seeing now people sharing on social media without being censored at all. See, leftists can post these kinds of conspiracy theories. We call them Blue Anon, right? Remember QAnon, the leftist conspiracy theorists? I've seen multiple accounts sharing photographs of Donald Trump's ear saying, wow, cartilage doesn't grow back, especially in the old age. I mean, it's kind of like that meme from the once Sunny, the Sunny in Philadelphia guy where he's like pointing at the wall with all the things, like, you know, all the like drawing all the lines between all of the connections of things. And he's like, looking all insane, right? Well, this is a perfect example of this. The left can post conspiracy theories all day long on social media, never receive a fact check. Remember, what was the fact check that they got like remember the Donald Trump, the lie about Donald Trump that he called Nazis very fine people? Snopes did fact check that, actually. I will have to give credit to Snopes, but they fact checked it 4 years after it happened. After it was too late, it wouldn't impact the outcome of the election. Then they managed to pull off the fact check. But leftists can post lies, misinformation all day long. But if a right-winger or a conservative or a libertarian or whatever, if they post an actual photograph of the assassination attempt on social media, they will immediately be censored. They will immediately be suppressed. It just always seems that the errors, if these are errors, as Facebook is claiming, it always seems as if, like Jesse said, Jesse Waters on Fox News, the clip I played earlier, it just always seems as if the errors only go one way. Have you noticed this? The errors that are made always seem to go one way. They never seem to have an error against the left. It's always errors against the right. Elon Musk posted this little short video on X yesterday about someone searching for Donald Trump on Google only gets news about Kamala Harris. Look at this. News about Kamala Harris. Searches Donald Trump, only gets news about Kamala Harris. Elon Musk reposted that on his X account, which has been doing quite well. As a matter of fact, this Wall Street Journal article, America's political drama has fueled X's moment in the sun for Elon Musk. Users have been flocking to that social media site amidst a very turbulent political period. But the question is now, will the interest last? At least that's what the Wall Street Journal reporter Tim Higgins is writing. And when they say things like, will the interest last? You know that the mainstream media is doing whatever they can to try and make sure that that doesn't happen. They don't want us using X. They don't want us using Rumble. They want to put us in their walled gardens. They don't want people like you and I to be able to have these conversations. They don't want Luke Sacker and Mighty Megatron and Grizz Cheese and NJam7 and Mind Dart and Courtney Conover and CJ824 and Doug Clementine / Doug. They don't want Robbie Theraman. They don't want Mongoose 87 or Luke Sacker or Kermode Barrett or Cecilia H or LDub 78 or Steffi for Liberty or Ahow 319. They don't want us building up our relationships like we're doing on these networks. They don't want you building up the Wake Up America show. This is why yesterday I was supposed to have this meeting with YouTube. Here's my tinfoil hat back on. So yesterday, remember, I was telling you about how I was supposed to have a meeting with YouTube about my live stream. Now, keep in mind that for the last 2 weeks, I have been having conversations with YouTube because they have been saying, we are doing research on people who do live streams on YouTube. We want to help live streamers build up their channels. John Rail, yes, you too, John, yes. They don't want us building up this network. They don't want you guys supporting me, that's for sure. They don't want to give me a platform. Remember last year when they demonetized me on YouTube, they took away your ability to be able to finance this show. They took away your ability. If I had tried to stay on YouTube, and if ever all of my cards were in YouTube's hands, there'd be no For Liberty Network. I probably would have had to close this show down by now because, quite frankly, Rumble has now become a major source of my revenue. Right, the monthly subscriptions, the Rumble rants that you guys give, unlocking the bonus content, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, right? Unlocking the bonus content, that has now become like a very important part of my revenue stream. So for the last 2 weeks, YouTube reached out to me, and I've always kind of like, since then kept them at arm's reach. I posted over there because some people just, they have to listen to things on YouTube for whatever reason. So it's just advertising. And I really hope that people who are watching us over on YouTube, all 14 of you this morning, would join us over at rumble.com/AP for Liberty if you can. But for the last 2 weeks, YouTube has been emailing me back and forth. And, Rumble, I'll tell you this, Rumble has been in contact with me directly since last year. When YouTube demonetized me, Siraj Hashmi and Dylan Abad, both, they reached out to me, Siraj first, and now Dylan and I kind of work together a little closer. But they reached out to me, and they have been fostering the growth of the Wake Up America show by actually giving me their email addresses and having conversations with me and saying, hey, Austin, what can we do to help your show grow here on Rumble? Right. And it's like, I'm not Steven Crowder or Russell Brand or, any of the big guys on rumble.com, Donald Trump Jr. or any of those big guys and stuff like that. I do bring in some money for Rumble, but it's probably not massive. Right. I do have a locals page. Right. But it's not massive. Right. I am trying to, grow my network. Right. One day. But, Rumble they don't have to work directly with someone like me. They don't. They could take all their time and energy and spend it on. There are lots of guys who have shows here on rumble.com that aren't those big guys that are still way bigger than I am anyway. So it's quite possible that YouTube saw the show yesterday and said, well, we are no longer interested in having a conversation with Austin Peterson because we know that this is not somebody that we're going to be letting on our platform for very much longer. And if you watched yesterday's show, I mean, come on, the show was called, Professor Sug on D's Nuts. So, and it was all about how much Kamala Harris sucks. So, they don't like that kind of stuff. So I think I made a huge mistake when I told Ian Howarth yesterday that he was supposed to be on at 7:30 a.m. And I assumed, because I always think of Ian as like a Nashville guy, that he's on Central Time like me, but I think he moved. So I have to apologize to him completely, but it looks like he might be here now. So let me just bring him on the set and say, I'm sorry, so sorry. Ian, I should have said Central Time. Good morning, Ian. How are you?
Good morning, Austin. I'm so sorry too. I should have checked as well, but I'm so glad to have made it, and I'm glad we're here, and always great to talk to you.
You made it, Ian. I'm glad you're here too. Thanks so much for coming on and for accommodating my mistake. Hey, Facebook, I know that you were a software engineer for them. Listen, Mike, I'm not big into conspiracy theories, Ian, but I've been suppressed, censored, shut down, shadow banned. I mean, when you go to Instagram and you type in my username, if you don't type it in AP4LIBERTY, the whole thing, you can go all the way up to the AP4Libert, and if you don't type the Y, you're not going to find my account. And Facebook is apologizing, saying it was a mistake that they were taking down the Trump picture and stuff. You've got a little more insight into what goes on behind the scenes over there. You want to share with us some of that?
Yeah, I think first off, I want to say that censorship is going on. I'm not here, defending Facebook, saying that anti-conservative bias doesn't exist. Obviously, you being essentially shadow banned is real. I've been shadow banned too. It was last year I shared a picture. I don't know if you remember the New York Times shared that. It was right after the Kanye West stuff. They shared a crossword that looked exactly like a swastika. And everyone on the left said, no, it's no big deal. You're just being a snowflake. And I shared a picture of that crossword saying, hey, kind of looks like a swastika. And Instagram shadow banned me for, I think, 6 months. I was demonetized on a bunch of different platforms. And so, either it's a swastika or it's not. There's a ton of anti-conservative stuff going on. With the Trump image thing, I try to push back just a little bit because I think people need to really... It's hard because I understand people's reaction, but I also think people need to understand not only the weakness in technology, but the weakness in the policy. It's not like Facebook is just this evil corporation puppet mastering speech. There are people certainly in the middle policy-wise who are doing that. But to rewind a little bit, I worked as a software engineer on their Facebook fact-checking team, which basically meant I built the tools for a year or two that help people actually do the fact-checking. And the image that got fact-checked and therefore pushed down onto the newsfeed, it probably made it harder to distribute, fewer people saw it. And you also had that warning coming up saying this was false, was the famous image that millions of people across the world have seen now, which is the Trump fist in the air straight after being shot image, probably the most iconic image of this century at this point, and certainly our generation. And that was marked as, I believe, false or misleading or any number of different labels by USA Today and AFP, which are both fact-checking groups in the United States. It turns out these fact checks were actually related to a different image. It was an image of that fist in the air, but either Trump was made to be smiling like a deep fake, or the Secret Service agents were meant to be made to be smiling, to either make it seem like it was some kind of conspiracy to have Donald Trump killed, which of course it still may be, but certainly not in the image, or that Donald Trump was smiling as if it was his idea. Some of the posts they actually originally marked as false were saying, see, Trump wanted this to happen. What a photo op this was. Trump wanted to get shot, which is all left-wing anti-Trump propaganda. And so this started off as actually, I think, a good fact check. Instance, we see it on Twitter all the time, where left-wing propaganda is being debunked in real time. The problem came where either image matching screwed up completely, and they connected this with the real image, which of course I don't take as too realistic in this case, because image matching should be better than that. Or the fact-checking organizations basically clicked through a ton of content and applied this fact check to content that was not relevant. Either way, this was obviously a mistake and they rectified it, but it's hugely damaging because, as you know, anything on social media, if it's initially suppressed, the early seconds or the early minutes of content are the key moments for that content. If it's suppressed, it's already buried. It's like everything in a line on social media. You get your one chance to show people your content. If you are 10 minutes late, hours late, days late, no one cares anymore. And so, yes, they uncensored it, but the damage is done. But I also think people understand that this is actually more of a problem with the amount of power that is being handed to fact-checking companies rather than just Facebook there with a button saying censor, 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 which I think actually makes it worse, because I think as a company, they've absolved themselves of responsibility by handing a ton of responsibility to organizations that are pretty obviously biased. And I think that is a harder problem to solve, unfortunately. That's why I kind of wanted to speak out.
Well, so that all makes perfect sense. And it makes sense that algorithms would make a mistake in judging two images that looked very similar, one which is a doctored fake photo and another which is completely, is completely legitimate, that, the tin eye of the robots would see them as being very similar. It's kind of like how I was watching a video this morning in the Wall Street Journal about Tesla's automatic driving functions and how they can only run based on images or data that they have been trained on, right? It's not like us where we can immediately learn the new data and understand it in that context. But here's the problem, is that it seems as if the weighting might really be the question here, Ian, because if you think about it, it just seems to me as if conservatives or libertarians get fact-checked immediately, and then leftists get fact-checked after the election. For example, I brought up the whole very fine people on both sides lie that the left was saying about Donald Trump, saying this about Nazis, and then Snopes 4 years later fact checks it. Now the left is spreading this conspiracy theory about Donald Trump not actually being shot, despite the FBI, who hates Trump, saying, yes, indeed, he was shot. They're posting photographs of his ear, which are going viral right now as we speak, saying cartilage can't grow back, it's fake, blah, blah, blah. it just seems as if when I post something, Ian, it gets reported immediately. I mean, I don't. Here's the thing: I compare the left to Nazis all of the time because they march in the streets against Jews. And they're burning Israeli flags, and they're saying things like "death to the Jews." And so when I do things like that, they are saying that I'm promoting Nazis. They say that I'm promoting white nationalism, and it happens fast. I mean, very fast. But when the left posts "death to the Jews," it hangs out there for a very long time, Ian. Couldn't it be that the fact-checking might be equal in the sense that they'll get to it one day and eventually it will be equality, but not until after the election? I mean, maybe that's the conspiracy, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I think there are two issues here. One is that these fact checkers, at least on Facebook, I don't know about other platforms, but Facebook, Instagram, Threads, they're at liberty to pick the content they fact check and the content they don't. And they're all either openly left-wing or subtly left-wing. They're all former journalists, a place like CNN, who see it as their civic duty to fact check the evil right. And so that's why they're usually obsessively focused on conservative misinformation or so-called conservative misinformation, or people like you who are saying things they don't want people to hear that are true, just because they simply see themselves as purely focused on right-wing lies, because the left wing never lies, Austin. Everything the left say and do is good and pure, and everything the right does is evil in their eyes. But they also understand something that's actually really important here, which is we exist in 4-year chunks of time called elections. And they know that if you delay something long enough, the truth doesn't really matter. As long as you can delay people finding out the truth for long enough. Think about the Hunter Biden laptop story. Everyone is pretty much openly acknowledging now that was completely made up. All of the Russian disinformation stuff was a complete lie. It was all a fabrication to defend Joe Biden and his corrupt, sordid family. Doesn't matter. He's in office. He won the election. You can't go back in time. So they know that, yes, they can pretend like they care about the truth by somewhat fact-checking things years later, but it doesn't matter. Someone like you is a threat now. That's why they fact-check you today, and they'll fact-check the Bidens or the Clintons or any left-wing organization in 2, 3, 4 years' time. Just so happens to be straight after the election when it doesn't matter anymore. I think that's the key thing, is that I think we need more right-wing fact-checkers out there. I think we're seeing great things on Community Notes, for example, on X and Twitter. But in terms of Facebook, it's only a set group of third-party fact-checking organizations that are given this power. And that's why you always see it going against people like us, is because they believe that we're the liars and their side isn't.
See, I think that it's possible. Here's another, maybe not a conspiracy so much, but this is just a theory, is that Mark Zuckerberg seems to be, I won't say becoming more right-wing these days, but I do think that, and maybe this is completely PR, it could all be completely fake. He's just trying to not look like he hates the United States, but I see him flying the American flag when he's out on his surfboard. I see him saying things like Donald Trump surviving his assassination attempt is badass. I see him doing things like growing cows, beef farms out in Hawaii, which is obviously not good for the climate, right? Doing the kinds of things, that are repellent to leftists. So maybe this is all just some attempted PR transformation on his part. But the reality is, Ian, and maybe you can speak to this, is that there's a proverbial bayonet to his throat, in the sense that the culture of Silicon Valley and the people who work for Meta and the people who are surrounding him will never allow him to have people like yourself. I mean, you're not on the Facebook team anymore, Ian, right? You're not there anymore. I imagine that there are probably very few people at Meta who think the way that you or I think, that are on fact-checking teams. I mean, he's sort of got his, the left has their knife to his throat, because if we remember after 2016 when Trump got elected, the left all blamed Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. All of the changes that came about on these social platforms were meant to fortify the election to prevent people like you or I from having to have a bigger voice. Now, you're a young whippersnapper. You might not have been as active politically online back in like 2012 or 2013, but conservatives like Ben Shapiro and Dan Bongino and even guys like me used to dominate the news, the trending news on Facebook. There used to be a trending news in the top right-hand corner. They got rid of that pretty damn quick, because when people like ourselves are allowed to have free speech on these platforms again, we always dominate it because we can win an argument. So that when the left can't win an argument, they cheat.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack there. I think one, I want to make it pretty clear that I left Facebook. I wasn't fired or anything.
Okay. Yeah.
I was politically active while I was there. I was doing a podcast. I was writing articles. I was very active on social media, and Facebook were aware of employees who wanted to get me fired, which I think kind of flies in the face of what you see with a lot of other Silicon Valley companies. So I think that was pretty wonderful in a lot of ways. There's certainly a lot of people who are incredibly politically active in the other direction and see it as their responsibility to leverage Facebook's power to push what they see as left-wing perfect views. But I think the issue with a lot of these Silicon Valley companies is it's never the head of the snake, it's the body of the snake that's the problem. I think someone like Mark Zuckerberg, as you never see it publicly, but seeing him internally, we would have weekly Q&A sessions where he would come and just answer questions from employees, and he would have to face the most ridiculous radical left-wing vitriol, asking why conservatives are still allowed on the platform, why Trump hasn't been censored yet, because people internally were pushing to have Trump thrown off the platform for years, and he was one of the few voices actually pushing for free speech, pushing back against this nonsense. And I think it gets to a point where he might be wrong, but he was trying to find this balance of trying to make it work. And I think a lot of these software companies capitulated at the very last moment. You actually saw Trump on social media. It was almost overnight. They all decided to ban him in one foul swoop. But I think Mark Zuckerberg himself actually cares about free speech. He's obviously left-wing. I think he and I probably wouldn't agree on a ton of political things, but he's pro-America and he's pro-free speech. It certainly doesn't seem that way if you actually look at the policies of Facebook in recent years. But then again, it's not all down to him. There's a lot of internal pressure. There's a lot of people you have to basically bring along to your side. And he's openly admitted that it's been a learning process. He's a young guy too, and he's made mistakes in the past. And I think we're seeing, one, his transformation in a way of being more confident with these kind of issues. But I also think we're seeing a cultural transformation where people are realizing that you can push back against this woke bullshit. It is okay to disagree. And I think we're starting to see that more and more outside of just the political sphere, because it's all very well Trump making a name for himself, being the guy pushing back, right? That's one of Trump's big brands. That's why people were attracted to him in the first place, is because we were surrounded by politicians on the left and the right who are terrified of saying the wrong thing. And then you have Trump who comes along who doesn't care what he says, which is, I think, what more people need to be like in a way. And I think now we're starting to see that trickle into the business community. You see a lot of people moving away from DEI, for example. And so I think Mark Zuckerberg is an example of that. And so I think it's good to see. I think a part of it is obviously PR, but I also think it's based on a genuine position of caring about issues, having heard him speak about these things, having seen him defend free speech against pretty vicious internal pressure, people getting up in his face and screaming about these issues. That's difficult to do year after year after year when you're not a political figure. It's one thing for you and I to receive political pressure for our views when that's literally our job. But when your job is running a software company and people are screaming in your face, a lot of people would just fold immediately, because why bother with the hassle, right? You just want to make money, you want to build products, just give these children what they want and they might go away. Obviously, that always blows up in your face. But I think it's testament to the fact he does actually have these values, has made mistakes before. I'm not going to defend everything Facebook have done. I think they've made colossal mistakes, and I blame them in large part for Joe Biden's win in 2020 with the suppression of the Hunter Biden story. I think that was a colossal failure in social media history. But I think in recent times, I think Facebook have done more than people would like to give them credit for.
One last question for you, Ian. Should Facebook or these social media companies even be in the business of fact-checking us? I mean, shouldn't we really just be able to say what we want to say, even if it's incorrect, even if it's wrong? And isn't it really just our job to fact-check for ourselves, Ian, not some shadowy group behind a curtain to tell us, to be the arbiters of what's real and what isn't? Because it just reminds me so much of the old mainstream media days when there were like 5 television channels and 5 major national newspapers, and they were the arbiters of what is right and wrong. And then there's the explosion of social media, and for a while it was beautiful anarchy. It was beautiful chaos. And yes, people lied all of the time and people spread bullshit, but you knew that people were lying and spreading BS, and you knew it was your responsibility. And stupid people who fell for stupid bullshit, well, they would suffer the consequences of that, because everybody knew that they had no idea how to fact check. So my last question to you, Ian, should Facebook even be in the business of setting up fact checking internally if they can't even do it right?
Yeah, I think this has been my main criticism for a long time, is I think the goal of fact checking objectively in the naive, perfect world is a good one, right? People knowing more facts is good. If you know something is true, that's good. If you know something is false, that's good. But also very much matters who's deciding what is true and what is false and what is done with that information. For example, I would care far less about Facebook fact checking, regardless of how biased it is, if it was just a label placed on content and the content was left alone. Like if I were to put up a post, for example, and it goes viral, but some left-wing fact checker says, oh, Ian's actually being misleading, but people still see it, I don't really care. What I care about is these people who are biased have their thumb on the scale of what goes viral and what doesn't, what people see. That's the key thing. It becomes censorship. More information is always good, but this isn't about more information. It's about less information. Again, I keep coming back to community notes because community notes obviously has issues, but more information there is good because you can still read the post. It still gets distribution. I don't believe it's suppressed at all, but you can actually see more information about that post and becomes a marketplace of ideas, which is the whole point of social media. And so I think Facebook should go more in that direction of if they want to keep these fact-checking organizations, fine. I don't think they should. I think a lot of them are openly biased. I've met many of them, and a lot of them simply boast about what they're doing. I don't think they should be going down that route. I think Facebook, if they want to do fact-checking, should either be employing more right-wing fact checkers to try and even things out, but more importantly than all, they just need to take the thumb off the distribution networks. It needs to be all about providing more information. And then if people want to have something labeled as false by a fact-checking organization, the people who care about that will care about that. The people who don't. But the moment you're covering images with a gray banner, so you have to do one more button click to see certain information, or the second something is buried in your news feed, so you have to go looking for it, or the second profiles like yours, for example, you cannot find in search unless you go to their profile. That is becoming censorship. That's becoming suppression of speech. And I think that's a direction social media shouldn't be going down because that's not their role, right? That is not their role. And it's certainly anti-free speech, certainly anti-American. I think it'd be a very easy way to actually fix this problem. I don't think they'll do that because I think a lot of these organizations see this as almost their last hurrah. It's like their last grip on power. They're mad they're losing their grip on power, right? All these gatekeepers are mad. There's a reason media was all, like classic legacy media, was all over social media because social media was threatening them. This is all about power too. I think people often miss that layer to this really ugly cake is that, yes, it's about speech. Yes, it's about political bias. But there are also industries here that are on death's door and they do not want to be, and they are holding on to power for dear life. And so we've also got to understand that there are people who are fighting not for the right thing, but simply for their paycheck. And as long as that's going on, people are going to make decisions that are best for their pocketbook, not necessarily best for the country.
You know, I really can't say enough good things about your commentary. I do think that you are one of the most important voices of your generation. And I read what you put out all the time. I follow you over on X at IG Howarth, like how on earth, HAWORTH. You can find Ian over on X.com where he's not suppressed and you can actually hear what he has to say. Ian, is there anything else that you'd like to plug or say before we let you go?
No, thank you as always for having me. Apologies for being late and congratulations on the beautiful baby. It's wonderful to see these shreds of real life come through. I think all of us on X and social media are always so obsessed with all these silly little battles, and then you have images like your life coming through of real life and what really matters. So congratulations. I'm so happy for you.
Thanks, Ian. We appreciate you very much. Sorry about the time mess up. We'll have you on again really soon. Have a good one.
Can't wait.
Ariel Fodor, affectionately known as Mrs. Frazzle to her combined audience of over 1.5 million followers, is here to help gentle parent us through this election.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I am so honored to speak today. I am like shaking to just be among such incredible company. We are here because, as if you were here earlier, you've heard BIPOC women have tapped us in as white women to step up, listen, and get involved this election season. This is a really important time, and we all need to use our voices and influence for the greater good. No matter who you are all influencers in some way. So tonight, I'm going to share some do's and don'ts for getting involved in politics online and navigating the toxicity that comes with it. And spoiler alert, as much as the toxicity can come from the outside, it can come from us too. So first, don't isolate yourself. We can do our best work when we're in community together like we are tonight, because the toxic feels smaller when we support each other. But don't make it about yourself. As white women, we need to use our privilege to make positive changes. If you find yourself talking over or speaking for BIPOC individuals, or God forbid, correcting them, just take a beat. And instead, we can put our listening ears on.
Shut up. It's time to speak to Camellia Peterson. You've unlocked the bonus content. She's not a bitch. Camellia is not a bitch. Just that stupid white woman that we just had to listen to telling us about our privilege. Oh my God. It's the men versus the women. The war of the sexes played out in the presidential campaign. You've unlocked the bonus content. Enjoy. I'll be right back with Camellia. She gonna blush when we get back on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network.
Up America show looks at vice presidents who became president in light of Kamala Harris taking the initiatives and as Tennessee's governor. Despite aligning with the pro-slavery wing of the Democratic Civil Rights Act and the 14th Amendment all over Johnson's veto. To curb Johnson's powers,
Got it. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show. I don't know if anybody could hear you there, Camellia. Don't worry about it. It's time to rise and freedom. All right, so you already know who my next guest is. It's the battle of the sexes. Is it being played out in the battle between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris? Okay, guys, let's all just put our listening ears on. And remember, we're tapping in for the bi people of color. And we just want to make sure that we understand that we're going to use our privilege to help the little black people, you know, because they're too weak and stupid to be able to win this election alone. So we got to help them out. Okay, let's get a white woman in here to use her privilege. Woo! It's Camellia Peterson. What's up, Camellia? How are you doing?
Good morning. So first, I want to know if you have checked your blind spots. And second of all, are you using gentle parenting with Hazel Rose?
No offense, but shut up, bitch. They fear us, Camellia. The women fear us this election. They're telling us we can't attack Kamala Harris on the fact that she sucked a lot of charms in order to get ahead in politics in California, that she was we can't say that she was Montel Williams' side piece. You know, we can't talk about that. We can't attack her on this. If we attack Kamala Harris, we are both racist and sexist. So they really have pulled out all the cards. A coalition has been forming, though, of men not like myself. They want to reclaim the label of masculinity away from men like myself, who they deem to be toxic, and the white men for Kamala Harris have stepped up and are using their privilege to get Kamala Harris elected. Are these the most racist sons of bitches you've ever seen in your entire life? Are they completely unaware of how racist they sound, Camellia?
So apparently, and like, first of all, it's not that they want to reclaim the title of masculinity. They want to redefine it. So let's clarify that. Second of all, I think it was Mary Catherine Ham did kind of a parody of the gentle parenting thing. And it just is, and is hilarious. She went into how that, you know, so what we do is we create these groups of white only people, but you know, that's okay but only Democrats can do that, you know, to segregate people by their race. It just is. I highly recommend watching. It's very funny. But she's right. I mean, you know, imagine if people, you know, if Republicans, if people on the right, libertarians even, you know, created these groups of people specifically segregated by the color of their skin in order to support a candidate. That would be like bizarre.
Right. Like if I started a group like white men for Donald Trump, and our whole goal was to say, we're trying to get Donald Trump elected because we think it's very important that a white man is president of the United States, not just because his policies are great or because we think he's funny or his character, but specifically because he is a white man. I think the left would have a problem with that, wouldn't they?
I think so. I don't think there's any question about that.
But isn't the problem though, Camelia, and this is an uncomfortable conversation, and I don't even think Republicans are ready to have this conversation, to be quite honest. Isn't it the problem of, and you're going to smile, but isn't it the problem that we've had women in charge for too long? And wouldn't it be a huge mistake to put this woman in charge as president of the United States? Haven't we girl bossed for a little bit too long?
We have flown too close to the girl boss sun, I think. Yeah, so I think, first of all, yes, it would be a mistake to put Kamala Harris, or however she's telling us to pronounce her name now, in as president. But second of all, I think that, we, in our zeal to create equality in the many different categories that we have now, but starting with women, we jump the shark, and then we end up putting people in positions who are objectively unqualified for those positions, all because of their genetic makeup, and anymore, not even because of their genetic makeup, just because of what they say they are. But anyway.
But including women in positions of power for the fact that they were women. That was the first DEI.
Yes.
Right. But before we started saying, well, now let's include minorities and, Asians and blacks, but no more Asians because there's too many Asians. Now we need, we got to have, right. They want there to be equality of outcomes. But initially, when we first started the inclusion part of diversity, equity, inclusion, it was all about putting women into positions. Correct. Now, individual women have benefited to some extent, but overall, it seems as if women are unhappier than they have ever been, at least according to most of the surveys that you and I talk about on the show. And we look at statistics, we look at surveys, women have achieved more professionally and in their careers, more than they ever have in human history, but they've never been less happy. Why, Camelia? Why?
Well, I think it's unrealistic expectations. This equality message has been built up for women to the extent that they've been told they can have it all, they can do anything, and it's regardless of their capabilities. And so I think we've set them up for failure in that sense. And I'd like to point out, by the way, that even before we had all of this women's rights and equality, everything, and don't get me wrong, I'm not going to go to the extreme of saying we need to repeal the 19th and all of that ridiculous nonsense. However, women have always done great things. Women who have been driven to do those things, who have been capable of doing those things. We have powerful women throughout all of history before, the suffrage, the women's suffrage movement ever came about. So I do think that I think that there have been women who have not had that opportunity that could have accomplished some of those same things. Most certainly, right? I think that is the case. But however, I do think that once we started, trying to ensure in every single way that women had equality, and it's not even that if they've had equal opportunity, because if we had equal opportunity, then you would still have to meet the basic standard criteria or qualifications for a job or a position or whatever. But that's where we've jumped the shark in, insisting on equality, whether you're qualified or not.
Yeah, if you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to Camelia Peterson, but we are not related. We are just friends.
Did I tell you? I'm sorry. Did I tell you real quick? You said that somebody congratulated me on becoming an aunt.
What? An aunt? An aunt for who?
Yes. Well, for Hazel Rose, because they still think that we are related.
Oh, gosh, yes. Well, that was at least nice of them. Yes, I think you did tell me now. I remember. The last week has been something of a blur.
I'm sure.
Thank you to Andy Opperman. He says, when you subsidize failure and punish success, mediocrity is the best you can hope for. There is a crisis of competency afoot in our nation, and it will lay us low if we do not change course. Give it up for Andy Opperman, and thank you for the donation.
And he's right. And the thing is it's like a lot of other things. We have it's detrimental to very accomplished, capable women that we have set this low bar of expectation for women.
No, it is. It hurts women who are actually accomplished. But the problem is that the United States doesn't have any Margaret Thatchers at this moment. We don't have any iron ladies. We might have in certain ways. The problem is that the women who really want accomplishment, who want to be in politics, and who want to take over in girl boss tend to be on the left. And the women who we actually need to take leadership roles are smart enough to stay out of leadership roles and stay home and take care of their kids. Bit of a quandary.
Sure. And a few exceptions, right? Winsome Sears is the one that always pops to mind first whenever I think about a woman like that who would be that Margaret Thatcher-esque, woman. But she has taken care of her family, and she's done all of the things. She's managed to kind of managed to sort of have it all, but she has the right frame of mind about it, and she's worked very hard, and she's very realistic about it, very pro-family, and she's just, she's not a nut about it.
What is your take, though? Let's talk a little bit about men and what's the problem with men. Let's talk about these white men for Kamala Harris. We can't just beat up on the women all day long. Let's ask ourselves, what is wrong with the white dudes for Kamala Harris? So this is a big fundraising campaign that has been going on, and their whole attack is on men like myself who have a wife, who have a child, who work for a living, who are entrepreneurs, who are trying to get ahead in life. They want to tax us. They want to destroy the way of life that people like me are building. I am the problem, but not these low testosterone beta males who probably couldn't impregnate a woman if they tried, right? Because they've done so many drugs in their life that they are polluted. And so they all have judgment to reign on top of us. The new attacks that we're seeing from the left is that from the Kamala Harris supporters is that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump are weird, which I find quite fascinating coming from people who cut their dicks off, have purple hair, and are men in women's dresses and go out and do drag parades and get naked in public at pride parades. Very odd accusation. What is this mentality of these white dudes for Kamala Harris, Camelia? Where does this come from?
I think they've been conditioned, like the guys who are of the age that are talking like this now, I think have been conditioned from birth almost now at this point in our society to be, subservient to women. They have grown up in a feminist culture that tells them that, well, basically kind of what the left is telling white people about their skin color. These men have been told about their masculinity is that you need to be aware of this, and you need to be sorry for it, and you need to be careful about it because you don't want to in any way, inflict your masculinity on women because that is an inferior quality, right? And so I think that they've heard this message so much. And I mean, and a lot of this is parenting. We can't get away from that. I mean, society can only be blamed, for so much when it comes to outcomes with children. And, good parenting is no guarantee either. It's a combination of things, but certainly a large part of it.
Mongoose87 had a really good quote, which reminded me of something. They are, quote, sneaky effers, the bad word. Google it, not a trap, I promise. I might have told you about this story in Nature when you and I were goofing off talking about this stuff sometime we were hanging out. Did I ever tell you the story about one of the mating strategies of the cuttlefish, the squid?
Yes, remind me though. I don't remember the details.
Sneaky effers, right? So the alpha of the cuttlefish, of the squid world, the big cuttlefish, he gets a harem. He gets his choice of all of the females, right? So, and what he does is he keeps the females under his body. He's much bigger than the females, so he keeps all of his females underneath him and then keeps away any other rival males from being attracted to or getting close to the women that he keeps, the females underneath him, okay? Now, beta males or lesser or smaller males who would not be able to fight for the affection and defeat the larger cuttlefish will mask themselves, because they are masters of disguise. They will mask themselves as females. So they will display as if they are females they will then go underneath the alpha male, and then they will mate with the females who are under there in order for them to be able to successfully reproduce. Sneaky effers is what we call them. Could it be that many of these sort of feminist white dudes for Kamala Harris are really just trying to get close to women because they can't get close to them by accomplishing things in life, being a person who is attractive, or having anything exceptional about them that a woman would be naturally attracted to, so they have to mimic female behavior in order to get close to females?
I think it's absolutely low self-confidence, right? They are not confident in their own masculinity. They're not comfortable in their own skin. And the only way that they know to get that female attention is by behaving like this what they're hearing, that women want these sensitive guys that, you know, are woman-like. Right. So, you know, I think that's their way of being accepted by those women. And also, I mean, you know, to be fair too, that's very much a thing that's more on the left in terms of what women say that they are looking for, right? There's not a lot of women who I would say are on the traditional right who, I mean, some women are probably going to say that they want a sensitive guy who listens to them and things like that, but it's probably not the norm. It's probably not the number one characteristic that they're looking for. I mean, they would like you to be a decent human being in your masculinity, but a man who is truly a well-rounded man will be that way no matter what. But, you know, I think this all goes to this cultural issue, is one of the things that J.D. Vance has been talking about. And it's this controversy that we've been talking about with regard to J.D. Vance, as far as how do we address these very cultural issues and what's the right way to do that. And so, you know, like my issue with Vance has been that he seems to sort of be promoting using government to address this cultural issue. And I think that's a huge mistake. But I do think that he recognizes, and one of the things that he did talk about was that this is very complicated. It's a complex problem, and solutions aren't easy. And one of the things in one of the articles that you had sent about him that he mentions is that he talks about how that children aren't socialized as much because they don't have as many siblings. And I don't, you know, like, I'm not sure if I totally agree with that, but his point is valid in that he talked about you don't have cousins and aunts and uncles and everybody around, which to me, I'm over here going, yes, that's it. Because for the last, I don't know, like 20 years, 10 years, I don't know how long, like the right's been beating the drum about, oh, the nuclear family, the death of the nuclear family is why our country is in decline. And I'm over here saying, no, it's not the nuclear family. The rise of the nuclear family is actually probably our problem, because it was the death of the extended family. And that takes such a hyper focus on this 1950s ideal of the nuclear family.
Completely agree, because we idolize the 1950s style of the nuclear family because it was the creation of the welfare state in the 1940s that allowed people to say, well, grandma, guess what? You're out of the house. Now we're leaving, and we're not going to take care of you anymore because the government's going to take care of grandma now. And I think conservatives actually do have that screwed up in their mind, but it's because conservatives have wrongly accepted the New Deal as part of American society. Not only the New Deal, but also the Great Society. They talk a good game about conservative values, but they don't advocate for them in the truest sense of the word, which is to abolish the New Deal and the welfare state and the Great Society. And then you will have not a nuclear family, but extended families, because we will all need one another and we will take care of one another. Which reminds me, it is nice to have my lovely mother-in-law here helping us to take care of little baby Hazel.
Good.
Well, yes, while I'm out and I can work, and Steffi and I can work out last night, and things like that are really enjoyable. I wish that I actually was closer to my extended family. It is nice to have them around. Camelia, I got to run. I got to go get Angela for LNC chair. She's going to talk to us about some political issues as well. well. Sorry that I was a little late coming back to get you
No,
on here
it's
today.
okay.
Anything else that you want to share before we let you go today?
Just a reminder for the Missourians in your audience that this is the last week before your election. So if you have not done your research on your candidates, voting day is 1 week from today. And if you have questions, I am always here and available and happy to help you with that.
I get a lot of DMs from people who are like, who do I vote for governor? Who am I voting for congressman? And I'm just like, I will tell you who to vote for. That's right. Thank you, Camelia. We appreciate you very much. It's always great. We'll talk to you again on Thursday.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks.
You're beautiful and you deserve the best. And she told me I was too nice. I couldn't believe it. It wouldn't work because I was too nice. That was the ultimate stab in the back.
Stop giving these bitches all the attention. So you need to start checking these bitches. We gotta start saying fuck these bitches, man. If you fucking with a cool female, that's all good. But if you fucking with a bitch, you need to break her ass and shake her ass. Break her ass and shake.
Yeah, that's right. Break her ass and shake her ass. We'll be right back. Angela McArdle. We're going to shake her ass? No, she's cool, bitch. She's cool. So we won't break her ass or shake her ass. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America show with the head of the Libertarian Party. She's not a bitch. She's a nice lady. Cool bitch. It's the Wake Up America show. We're not misogynists. We're not misogynists. Well, maybe a little bit. On the For Liberty Network. Oh, God, I got jokes. Austin, you going to hit the button? Yes, hit the button.
Wake Up America show looks at vice presidents who became president in light of Kamala Harris taking the Civil Rights Act and the 14th Amendment all over Johnson's veto. To curb Johnson's powers,
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com on the For Liberty Network. We're glad and grateful to have you here. Have you clicked that like button yet? What, you just think you could watch this show for free? Well, you couldn't click the like button? Come on, not even for a new dad? Come on, click the like button for baby Hazel. If it's your first time watching the Wake Up America show today and you've been enjoying this content, click the follow button as well and come back and join us for our regular show schedule. Every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, the Wake Up America show streams live. And it's not just me anymore. We are now launching a new Liberty network of shows. We've got my show, the Wake Up America show, and then coming this fall, 2 brand new shows coming to the new For Liberty Network. It's not just the Wake Up America show. It's not just the For Liberty shop. 2 brand new shows. We're growing like crazy, especially thanks to the financial contributions from audience members like yourself. So thank you to everybody who's helped to make this happen. We're coming up on our 2-year anniversary. It's very exciting. Thank you for helping us to support a family and for helping us to support the growth of this network of ideas. We can't let Reason Magazine have all the fun. We need some more Liberty media. What do you say? Give it up, peeps. Hook us up with some Rumble Rants this morning. We'd be glad and grateful. All right, my next guest is a new regular guest to the Wake Up America show. Well, I guess new, like as in about a month. She's the chair of the Libertarian National Committee. That means the queen of all of libertarians in the country, Angela McArdle, joining us live right now. We all have to do what she says, right, Angela? Good morning.
That's correct. I'm the big boss lady of libertarianism. If I say it, you must do it.
There we go. We are doing exactly what you say, Angela, which means votes for Chase Oliver. It's a fascinating situation we find ourselves in. We're no longer chasing Biden out of office because you guys successfully chased him out. Congratulations on that. But now I guess we have to chase Kamala out of office. What's the new plan for the Libertarian Party and maybe Chase Oliver, at least from what you can, what you know, looking at it from the outside, in order to deal with the new change in events with Kamala Harris stepping in for the Democrats?
Oh, we're chasing her out of that coconut tree she keeps talking about. We're chasing her right out of it. It's really about the same, and we're looking on getting some new polling data to see kind of where we're at, but overwhelmingly, Chase Oliver is still pulling from the left. So we're waving his flag, waving it around in progressive circles, trying to get the word out that all of the cat ladies should really vote for Chase, not Kamala Harris.
What do you mean the cat ladies should vote for Chase? Why should cat ladies vote for Chase Oliver?
I mean, they want to be free, right? They want to do whatever they want with their lives, and we want them to, right? We want them to have that freedom. You have as many cats as you want. You have as many soy lattes as you want. You live your life, girl. Be a bold libertarian, and vote for Chase Oliver.
There we go. Okay, so there's been a lot of controversy in the LP, as usual. I'd like to ask you your thoughts on the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. controversy out in Colorado. There's been questions about raising money for libertarians who are raising money for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. What's happening? What's the story?
Oh, secure the bag, my friend. I have stated out loud quite plainly to everyone's shock and dismay that we have a strategy at the federal level, and it may propel us right up, right into the White House administration, and that is to push for Chase Oliver, especially in blue states and maybe swing states, and swing for Chase Oliver. But Colorado did their own thing. They wanted to put Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on the ballot. They are a blue state, and they may not be deciding the election. So people, some people took a hands-off approach to that. Some people took a very hands-on approach and tried to get involved in their business. I decided to sort of steer clear of that. So separate, and that's an ongoing situation. It is still unfolding.
Right. So here's what I'm reading on the Kennedy24.com website. The Kennedy campaign announced, this is the 19th, the Kennedy campaign announced the Kennedy Victory Fund, an unprecedented partnership with the Libertarian National Committee, which you are the head of, revolutionizing how individuals can financially support the campaign. By joining forces with the LNC and establishing the joint fundraising committee, individuals can now donate $41,000 in addition to the general election contribution of $3,300. So the LNC, which you're the head of, is helping a candidate who's not a libertarian or member of the party, as I maybe understand it. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're helping a candidate who's running against you raise money?
He is a member of the party. What we are doing is we have entered into something called a joint fundraising committee, which is a special FEC creature. It's just a fundraising coalition. He's an independent candidate. He's not attached to a party, so he can't do a JFC on his own. You got to have a political party. We basically get to keep a percentage of what he raises. That's it.
Is that the benefit that the LNC was seeking?
Yes, we need to raise money. He's going to raise money anyway. He's going to find a political party to raise money with. We'd like a cut of that. So wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Secure the bag. Continue to support Chase Oliver. It's not an endorsement. It's basically like an issue coalition. It's just fundraising.
Angela, you remind me a lot of Donald Trump because he is a man who makes deals in difficult situations. And you certainly have had to make some deals in difficult situations this year.
Oh, yes.
You're kind of fighting for your life to some extent, and people who are cornered and who fight for their lives have to make desperate decisions. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Is that what this is, Angela?
I would say that it is creative measures. I don't know about desperation, I think it's more fun and actually living in the moment and engaging with other candidates at the federal level, people who are getting, publicity and notoriety, who are making an impact. I've just pulled us up to that level, and a lot of people are screaming. There's a lot of Oedipal mother behavior in the LP, people who are ready to drown their LP children. I'm like, no, let us spread our wings and fly and go and, achieve our potential. But, it's interesting. I do feel often like the Donald Trump of the party, and I am certainly called that by people who hate him. But, my intention is to to maximize liberty and to improve the situation for the Libertarian National Committee in a year where a lot of people find our candidate polarizing and they don't want to support him. What do I do to support the party? You know, how do we stay relevant? And how do we make an impact? You know, oh, maybe it means we have some conversations with Donald Trump and we get a libertarian in the cabinet. Maybe it means we do a little bit of fundraising with Kennedy. You know what I'd really love to do is a joint fundraising committee with the Donald Trump campaign. But so many heads have exploded over Kennedy. I'm not sure if we have the political fortitude to pull off such an incredibly financially successful thing. You know, we are not ready for that success. So we'll take just a little bit of success with Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s fundraising.
Are you actively trying to set up a joint fundraising committee with the Trump campaign?
Oh no, we've still got the Kennedy hurdle to overcome, the re-heard around the world from signing up with a fundraising. You know, it's interesting. We do work with the Green Party, with Kennedy and other areas. We sign on to lawsuits when people say that the duopoly is hurting us. You know, the uniparty's keeping us down. We have ballot access issues. We have no problem doing that. Sharing petitioners, all of those things that quote unquote help other people, you know, help other candidates, help other parties. I'm not sure why fundraising is such a difficult hurdle for people to overcome in their minds, but
it does seem, Angela, it does seem, Angela, as someone who was in the Libertarian Party and gave some of my best years of activism to the party for about a decade, that many in the party seem to hate Republicans more than they love liberty.
Yes.
The amount of hatred for the Republican Party far outpaces any hatred of the Democratic Party. At least that was my experience. And the level of acrid, bitter hatred for Donald Trump reigns supreme over all of libertarian principles. But could you, Angela, just you personally, not speaking for the party or anyone else, could you understand, putting yourself in my shoes, why someone like myself could vote for Donald Trump as a libertarian?
Just kidding. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I can. That's, you know, that's what we have to contend with. And if people can't be adults and talk about, well, you know, someone else said that they're voting for another candidate because X, Y, and Z, it would behoove us to listen to that. Listen and learn, right? That's what the libs say. I am here, I am listening, I am learning, you know, I'm elevating your voice. I'm just here to learn. We want to, you know, maybe reach out to voters. That could be a wild and crazy thing, and understand what their values are and why they make certain decisions, and, you know, work to get their support.
It's painful to watch from the outside as somebody who really, you know, did give a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to try and help get libertarians elected for quite some time. The situation that the party's in, Angela, at this point, there are people who are in the Libertarian Party that I care for very dearly, and many of them that I would like to see succeed. I just see that the path to liberty right now is quite murky and dark, and that what Donald Trump presents is sort of what some people call the best house in a bad neighborhood, where Chase Oliver sort of caves to the woke left. And when I say woke left, I mean, I'm not using it as just a buzzword. I'm talking about postmodernists. I'm talking about people who tear down statues and who think that the United States is the greatest evil in this country, and who look at the world as a struggle between oppressors and oppressed. Whereas Donald Trump fights the woke left. Donald Trump may not be the pro-capitalist Ayn Randian that people like yourself and myself are, when it comes to questions like tariffs or government spending, but he has capitalist instincts. He cuts taxes and he cuts regulations, and his enemies are my enemies. So I mean, I can't get in your mind, Angela, and know how you feel about things, but I know that you can't say certain things to me because of your fiduciary responsibility to the Libertarian National Committee, but I can't help but wonder, and you don't have to say anything in response to this whatsoever that will appear in a Reason magazine article that will attack you, but I can't help but wonder, Angela, if we wouldn't be better off the Republican Party with someone like yourself and your talents and your ability to compromise with the values and beliefs that you have. I still have the exact same principles and policies and beliefs that I had in 2016 when I ran for president as a libertarian, but my tactics have changed a lot. My tactics have changed a lot. I now have a different strategy for liberty. And I wonder if, Angela, you don't sort of feel the same when it comes to strategies over principles. If you're able to sort of separate the concept of tactics against principles. Seems like a lot of libertarians don't understand the difference. Would you agree?
Sounds like you are not a real libertarian.
Yes.
I'm
yes,
just kidding.
Yes.
I
yes.
would, I tend to have a very self-deprecating sense of humor, which is what carries me through this glorious, Suicide Squad moment that I'm in time. But I would say the one thing that I would say about myself is I'm probably the best tactician that LP has had in a very long time. And it remains to be seen what can rise out of the ashes after the 2024 election period. But if the party can hold it together, if we do not get overtaken by a bunch of woke weirdos as a result of various things that are happening right now, I think that the party is going to be in the best shape that it's ever been. And if we manage to get a registered libertarian into the White House, helping Donald Trump and his administration, and we don't actually lose like the libertarian, recognition when we do that, I could totally see libertarians running at the federal level. All of a sudden, we just break right through something that you thought would never happen. It will be happening in the next 2 years. So it's really, can the party survive this like incredible growing pain and this very weird, like long enduring exorcism that I'm trying to put it through and make it out successfully? If that's the case, then I don't actually think people need to switch GOP. And I think that the party also presents a really good opportunity for strong, very serious libertarians after Donald Trump's administration is over. If he's elected and he's done, I think that there are going to be a lot of people who are looking at the LP thinking like, oh, did she actually clean up that fixer upper? Can we move in? But that is a largely undecided question right now.
Yeah, it is. You're sort of required to be optimistic on that question. I'm more bearish on that potential prediction. I will say that this does lead me now to the final biggest question, which is one that everybody is talking about, which is that libertarian in the Donald Trump cabinet question. I think about all of the prominent libertarians that I know that have the capital L after their names. And I'm a tad skeptical about their ability to survive a congressional hearing. That would that would be a requirement in order for them to become a member of the cabinet. And you and I have even talked about this, in terms of the executive level experience, corporate experience, legal experience, the managerial experience to have to run a bureaucracy, especially if it's one that you don't think should exist. How do you deal with that? But so my question to you then is this. Would Thomas Massie meet the requirement of putting a libertarian in the cabinet according to your understanding of such, or does someone have to bear the big L, capital L last name in order to satisfy what you see as putting a libertarian in the cabinet?
So Thomas Massie would meet my personal requirement, but I think the conversation has been about a registered L. And to that extent, everything you say is true. It doesn't mean that there aren't registered L's out there, but it's not going to be someone from the influencer realm. It's going to be someone who's an attorney, and if not practicing now, has been, someone who has the street cred and has also kept their nose down and kept out of internet kerfuffles, for lack of a better term.
Could you name a few?
I could not.
Now, why can't you?
Still discussing it, and I don't want to poison the well. And I also don't want to get someone's hopes up, and there are also a few that I haven't actually talked about. I haven't spoken to this person directly. I'm trying to do some behind the scenes vetting, so we don't want to get someone excited and then dash their dreams. But yeah, I'm taking it very seriously, the headhunting search. I think we'll probably get Department of Education, which is a low-hanging fruit. It shouldn't be that complex. And we should celebrate that. And if anybody's going to scream and say, why didn't we get Secretary of State? Please check yourself, come back to reality. Let's be super excited about getting literally anything. If we got a bunch of janitors in, I'd be happy at this point, but it's going to be more than that.
Do you think that you're probably alone in thinking that someone like Thomas Massie or a Vivek Ramaswamy, who is a capital R Republican, but who identifies as libertarians, do you think that you're probably the only person who thinks that that would be sufficient, that most libertarians who are party members expect it to be someone who is a party member?
I think that most libertarians probably expect that.
You think that's unrealistic of them?
Wait, unrealistic of them to expect that it would be a capital L?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Well, I mean, how connected are they to reality? I think that the expectation is.
Well, that is the question.
I think I also
Angela.
set some of those expectations, though. Not everyone believes me. You know, I get a ton of like, oh, he'll never do that. He won't keep any promises. He won't free Ross. Like a lot of kicked puppy vibes. Kicked puppy vibes. It's okay.
Yes, kicked puppy vibes. That is actually a really good. And listen, the puppy has been kicked, right?
Very much.
The puppy has been kicked. I think we should all accept that that is the case, to give one for the capital L libertarians. This is a really tricky situation, Angela, and you've got bayonet to your throat as well from multiple angles. Kudos to you for trying to make deals in a bad situation. You may not characterize it so much in the way that I have, but you've definitely burned your boats. Your back is to the wall, and you're making decisions the best that you can based on the limited amount of resources that you have. I mean, you're kind of like the VC in the Vietnam War, right? You're fighting an asymmetric conflict because you know good and well that you can't stand up to an army and fight them toe-to-toe in regular warfare. You're conducting, a more mercenary guerrilla style campaign, which is really the only option that the Libertarian Party has or has had for quite some time. So I do commend you for that, Angela, and especially in the face of the overwhelming amount of vitriol that you receive, not just from Libertarian Party members themselves, but from Libertarian Inc., because just like there is Con Inc., there is a Libertarian Inc. as well. There are industry libertarians, right, who receive quite a lot of money, not just advancing these ideals, but advancing the ideals of their paymasters and the people who are behind them and who run the nonprofit institutions that keep that money flowing. Right. And these are people who try and control the outcome of Libertarian Party presidential elections, just like there are people who do that for the Republican and Democratic parties. I've always said that the Libertarian Party faces all of the same problems that the major parties do without the benefits of winning elections. So, Angela, it looks like you're trying to change that, at least to a certain extent. And I definitely commend you for that because, again, listen, I've been on the receiving end of quite a few hit piece articles myself of people trying to undermine what is my genuine attempt to try and advance libertarian principles using tactics that may not look nice. They may be a little bloody. They may be a little nasty. They may not look pretty, but at the end of the day, we aren't faced with a lot of options, Angela, and you strike me as a guerrilla warrior, and I commend you for that. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners or plug before we let you go and we'll see you again next week?
The Libertarian Party is going to be going to Miami, Florida in about a month, August 23rd, 24th, that weekend. So look for us there if you're in that area. We're going to be hosting a small event, fundraiser, just a meetup, hangout. I will have more details over the coming weeks.
There we go. Angela McArdle, the chair of the Libertarian National Committee. Thanks so much for what you're doing out there to fight for liberty, and we'll look forward to speaking to you again next week. Let's give it up for Angela. A round of applause, shall we? Tough conversations. Tough situation for Angela McArdle to be in, but, somebody's got to do it. Courtney Conover, Mighty Megatron, Luke Sacker, Quest Fanning. Luke Sacker already said that. Kermode Bear. Who else? Mongoose 87, Barney Styles. You're all beautiful people. Thanks for sticking around with us, hanging out. We've got so many people who watch us over on X, the platform X in the mornings, like hundreds and hundreds of people, but you're all kind of like nameless and faceless. I don't know who you are. I would like to know who you are. If you were watching the show this morning over on X.com and you found yourself really enjoying the content, do me a favor, send me a DM. Say hello. I know that you're listening. You can hear me right now. Yes. Hello, McFly. Send me a DM and just say what you liked about the show, what you didn't like about the show. Reach out to me through my DMs, slide into my DMs, if you will, wiggle into there, give it a little shake, and say hello, introduce yourself. I'd love to get to know who you are a little bit more because it's harder for me to get to know my audience over on X. I can see the chat and get to know the people over on rumble.com. There's like 234 people over there. So it's easy for me to kind of like figure out who everybody is. But it's hard for me to know who you are over on X.com. I'd just really like to get a little bit of feedback and get to know you a little bit better. Get your feedback on the show, what you like, what you don't like, you know, how did you find me, stuff like that. So if you're watching us over on X.com this morning, send me a DM and just say, hey, Austin, I found you through this. Maybe you've been watching me for a little bit for a while, or maybe today's your first time. I'm just trying to like get a little closer to you guys. So I can give you a little hug, just a little hug. We'll see you guys here tomorrow. Don't miss it. And of course, this Friday is going to be a big day. My lovely, sweet little baby redheaded libertarian Hazel will be on the show for the very first time for Freedom Family Friday. You don't want to miss it. So make sure you're here Friday at least, at minimum, because you want to see the baby. And thanks so much for supporting the Wake Up America show. Exit through the Grift Shop. That's forlibertyshop.com. The Grift Shop is where we go to monetize. Not the haters, but the lovers. The haters, we monetize through advertising. The lovers, we monetize through the For Liberty Shop. So visit forlibertyshop.com. Check out our brand new wooden coasters, the Donald Trump assassination attempt coasters made right here in Missouri by hand. My good buddy Doug Ashby, laser engraved coaster sets. You can get a set of 4, comes with the box, only at forlibertyshop.com. So check out the forlibertyshop.com. Keep watching the show. We got 2 more shows coming this fall. And it's now the For Liberty Network. So it's not just me anymore. We've got a whole army, a gang of people who are going to be joining us this fall to help spread the ideas of economic freedom and personal liberty on the For Liberty Network. Bye, guys. Love you.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor of your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit PetersonVoiceStudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you. Let's begin this melodious journey together.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your Founding Flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.